Admiral Cathvar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the burning planet below. The massive view screen showed fires spreading across the surface of Kepler 442b. Another colony world had dared to resist the Empire. Another world would learn the price of defiance. The Admiral was tall, even for a Zephyrian. His blue-scaled skin gleamed under the bridge lights. Forearms moved with practiced efficiency as he reviewed battle reports on multiple screens. His people had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. They had crushed every species that stood against them. "Status report," Cathvar commanded. His voice carried the authority of someone who had never been disobeyed. Captain Morvex, his second-in-command, stepped forward. "The mining colony's defense grid is down. Their orbital platforms have been destroyed. Ground resistance is minimal." Cathvar nodded. This was how it always went. The Empire's 7th Fleet was one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. The flagship Dominion's Fist alone carried enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. No colony world could stand against them. "How many survivors?" the Admiral asked. "Approximately 2 million colonists remain on the surface. They have sent multiple surrender requests." "Ignore them," Cathvar said coldly. "Continue the bombardment. The Emperor wants this sector cleansed completely. No one defies the Empire and lives to tell others about it." The bridge crew worked in silence. They had done this hundreds of times before. Rebellious colonies were destroyed. Their populations were eliminated. Other worlds learned to obey without question. This was the Empire's way. Cathvar walked to the tactical display. Red dots showed the positions of his ships. 12 heavy cruisers surrounded the planet. 4 destroyers patrolled the outer system. The battle had been over before it started. "Sir," Communications Officer Zelith called out, "we're receiving distress signals from the planet. They're begging us to stop." "Continue jamming all transmissions," the Admiral ordered. "No word of this must reach other systems before we're finished." The Empire had perfected the art of fear. When colonies rebelled, they were destroyed completely. No survivors meant no witnesses. No witnesses meant no martyrs to inspire other rebellions. It was simple and effective. Cathvar studied the tactical display again. Something felt different about this operation. Intelligence reports had suggested this colony was better defended than most. They had managed to destroy 2 Imperial patrol ships before the 7th Fleet arrived. That was unusual. Most colonies fell within hours. "Sensors, report," he commanded. Lieutenant Havoc turned from his station. "All Imperial vessels are in position. No enemy ships detected in the system. The colony's orbital defenses have been eliminated." "What about their ground-based weapons?" "Minimal threat. Standard mining lasers and construction equipment. Nothing that can reach us in orbit." Cathvar felt satisfied. The colony had put up more resistance than expected, but the outcome was never in doubt. The Empire's technology was far superior to anything these primitive colonists could produce. The Admiral returned to his command chair. It was made from the bones of a creature from a world the Empire had conquered 50 years ago. The entire species was now extinct. Such trophies reminded him of the Empire's power. "Begin final bombardment phase," he ordered. "I want this planet uninhabitable within 2 hours." The weapons officer began targeting the planet's major cities. Particle beams lanced down from the Imperial ships. Each blast could vaporize buildings and turn sand into glass. The colonists had no protection against such power. Cathvar watched the destruction with cold satisfaction. This was why the Empire ruled the galaxy. They had the strongest ships, the best weapons, and the will to use them without mercy. Other species were weak. They cared about things like civilians and surrender. Such weakness made them easy to defeat. "Admiral, Sensor," Officer Havoc called out suddenly. His voice sounded confused. "I'm detecting an energy anomaly." Cathvar's attention sharpened. "What kind of anomaly?" "Unknown, sir. It appears to be some kind of spatial distortion. The readings don't match anything in our databases." The Admiral frowned. In 3 decades of service, he had seen every type of space phenomenon. Solar flares, gravitational waves, quantum storms. Nothing surprised him anymore, but his sensor officer sounded genuinely puzzled. "Show me," Kethavar ordered. The main view screen changed to display sensor data. A strange ripple appeared in space about 20,000 kilometers from the fleet. It looked like waves moving through invisible water. Energy readings fluctuated wildly. "Could it be a natural phenomenon?" the Admiral asked. "Negative, sir. The energy patterns are too regular, too controlled. This appears to be artificial." Kethavar felt a chill run down his spine. Artificial meant technology. Technology meant another species. But that was impossible. Imperial intelligence had surveyed this entire sector. No advanced civilizations existed within 100 light-years. "All ships, yellow alert," he commanded. "Maintain bombardment, but prepare for possible contact." The bridge crew moved with increased urgency. Yellow alert meant potential threat. The 7th Fleet had not faced a real threat in over 5 years. Most of their recent missions had been simple colony suppressions. The spatial distortion grew larger. Energy readings climbed steadily. Whatever was causing this phenomenon, it was powerful. Very powerful. "Admiral," Havok reported, "the distortion is expanding. Energy levels are now beyond our measurement scale." Kethavar gripped his command chair. In all his years of service, he had never encountered technology that could exceed Imperial sensors. The Empire's science was the most advanced in the galaxy. They had conquered hundreds of species and absorbed their knowledge. "Could this be some kind of weapon?" Captain Morvex asked. "Unknown," the Admiral replied. "All ships, red alert. Cease bombardment and prepare for combat." The Imperial fleet moved into defensive formation. The Dominion's fist took point position, while the cruisers formed a protective screen. Destroyers moved to flanking positions. It was a formation that had never failed them. The spatial distortion reached critical size. Energy readings peaked beyond all known scales. Then suddenly, space itself seemed to tear open. Something emerged from the rift. Kethavar stared at the view screen in shock. A ship materialized from the distortion, but it was unlike anything he had ever seen. The vessel was sleek and angular, built with design principles that seemed impossible. Its hull was dark gray with strange markings that didn't match any known species. "Report," he demanded. "Vessel length approximately 800 meters, Havok announced. Configuration unknown. Hull material unknown. Energy signature. Admiral, their power output is reading as impossible." "Impossible how?" "Their energy core appears to be generating more power than our entire fleet combined." "But that can't be accurate." Kethavar studied the unknown ship. It was smaller than his flagship, but seemed far more advanced. The hull design suggested incredible engineering skill. No wasted space, no unnecessary components, everything served a purpose. "Attempt to contact them," he ordered. Communications Officer Zelith worked at his station. "No response to standard frequencies, sir. They're not acknowledging our signals." The unknown vessel moved closer to the Imperial fleet. Its approach was slow and deliberate. There was something predatory about the way it moved, like a hunter studying its prey. "Weapon status?" Kethavar asked. "All Imperial ships report ready for combat," the weapons officer replied. "Particle cannons charged, missile tubes loaded." The Admiral considered his options. This unknown ship could be a scout for a larger fleet. It could be carrying weapons beyond Imperial understanding. Or it could be harmless explorers who had stumbled into the wrong system. But Kethavar had not become Admiral by taking chances. The Empire's policy was clear: destroy unknown threats before they could become problems. "Target the unknown vessel," he commanded. "Prepare to fire on my order." The bridge crew locked weapons onto the strange ship. Targeting systems confirmed solid lock. The Imperial fleet's combined firepower could destroy any known vessel in seconds. The unknown ship continued its approach. It made no threatening moves, showed no signs of preparing weapons, but something about its presence felt wrong. "Dangerous." "Admiral," Zelith called out. "I'm receiving a transmission." "From the unknown vessel?" "Yes, sir. They're broadcasting on multiple frequencies in perfect galactic standard." Kethavar was surprised. Galactic Standard was the Empire's official language. Only Imperial citizens and conquered species knew it. How could an unknown civilization speak it so fluently? "Put it through," he ordered. A voice filled the bridge. It was calm, controlled, and carried an accent Kethvar had never heard before. "Imperial Fleet, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran Commonwealth vessel Retribution. You will immediately cease your attack on the civilian population below and withdraw your forces from this system." Silence fell over the bridge. In 3,000 years of Imperial history, no one had ever given the Empire orders. No species had ever demanded anything from Imperial forces. The audacity was beyond comprehension. Kethvar felt anger rising in his chest. These unknown beings, these Terrans, dared to command him? They dared to interfere with Imperial operations? "Open a channel," he ordered. "Channel open, sir." The Admiral's voice carried all the authority of the Empire. "Unknown vessel, you are interfering with lawful Imperial operations. This system is under Imperial jurisdiction. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." The response came quickly. The human voice remained calm, almost bored. "Admiral, your current actions constitute genocide against a civilian population. This is unacceptable. You have 1 minute to comply with our demands." Kethvar couldn't believe what he was hearing. A single unknown ship was threatening the entire 7th Fleet. The arrogance was staggering. "Captain Morvex," he said quietly, "remind me how many civilizations have successfully threatened the Empire?" "None, sir," Morvex replied. "All species that have opposed us have been eliminated." The Admiral smiled coldly. "Exactly. And these Terrans will learn the same lesson." He opened the channel again. "Unknown vessel, you have 10 seconds to leave this system. After that, you will be destroyed." The countdown began. 10 seconds to save themselves from the might of the Imperial fleet. 10 seconds to recognize the futility of opposing the Empire. The unknown ship, the Retribution, made no move to withdraw. It simply waited, as if the Imperial threat meant nothing. The 10 seconds passed. "Fire," Admiral Kethvar commanded. The Imperial fleet unleashed its fury. Particle beams and missiles erupted from every ship. Enough firepower to crack a moon converged on the unknown vessel. The energy barrage struck the Terran ship and simply disappeared. Kethvar stared, in shock. The Retribution sat undamaged in space. Its shields had absorbed the entire Imperial attack without any visible effect. Energy readings showed the human vessel had somehow converted the incoming energy and fed it into their own power systems. "That's impossible," Captain Morvex whispered. The human voice returned, colder now. "That was your warning shot, Admiral. This is ours." The Retribution fired a single beam of brilliant white energy. It lasted less than a second. The Imperial destroyer, Victory's Edge, simply ceased to exist. No explosion, no debris field. One moment it was there, the next it was gone. Kethvar felt fear for the first time in decades. The Empire's most advanced destroyer had been vaporized instantly. The power required for such destruction was beyond Imperial science. "What are we facing?" he asked quietly. Nobody on the bridge had an answer. The unknown human ship waited in space, as if destroying an Imperial destroyer meant nothing to them. As if the entire 7th Fleet posed no threat at all. Admiral Kethvar realized that everything had changed. The Empire had encountered something new, something dangerous, something that might actually be able to challenge their 3,000-year reign. The galaxy's worst nightmare had arrived, and it spoke with a human voice. Admiral Kethvar stared at the empty space where the Victory's Edge had been moments before. His mind struggled to process what had happened. Imperial destroyers were not supposed to simply vanish. They were built with the strongest armor in the galaxy. They carried shields that could withstand direct hits from stellar weapons. Yet this unknown human ship had erased one with a single shot. "Sensor analysis," he commanded, his voice tight with control. Lieutenant Havek worked frantically at his station. "Sir, the weapon signature is unlike anything in our databases. It appears to have been some form of controlled antimatter stream, but the containment technology is beyond our understanding. Antimatter weapons were theoretical for the Empire. Their scientists had tried to develop them for centuries, but could never solve the containment problems. The energy required to control antimatter was enormous. The risks were too great. Yet these humans had just used such a weapon as casually as firing a standard laser. "Admiral," Captain Morvex said quietly, "perhaps we should reconsider our position." Kethvar turned to glare at his second-in-command. "Are you suggesting we retreat from a single enemy vessel?" "Sir, they just destroyed one of our ships without effort. Their technology appears to be significantly more advanced than ours." The Admiral felt rage building in his chest. The Empire did not retreat. They did not negotiate from positions of weakness. For 3,000 years they had been the strongest force in the galaxy. No single ship could change that. "All ships, maintain position," he ordered. "Prepare for full assault Pattern Omega." Pattern Omega was the Imperial fleet's most devastating attack formation. Every ship would focus maximum firepower on a single target. The combined energy output could destroy space stations or cripple capital ships. "Sir," the communications officer interrupted, "the human vessel is transmitting again. Put it through." "Captain." Chen's voice filled the bridge once more. She still sounded calm, as if vaporizing an Imperial destroyer was routine. "Admiral, you seem to be having difficulty understanding the situation. Let me clarify. We know about your empire. We know about your conquest of this galaxy. We know about the billions of innocent lives you have destroyed." Kethvar felt a chill. How could these humans know about Imperial history? Their ship had appeared from nowhere. No intelligence reports mentioned any species called Terrans, the human captain continued. "We also know about your current operation here, the murder of 2 million colonists. This ends now." "Who are you?" the Admiral demanded. "What species? What star system?" "We are humans from a planet called Earth, and we are here to stop you." Earth. The name meant nothing to Kethvar. Imperial star charts contained no world by that name. These humans claimed to come from somewhere completely unknown. "Impossible," he said. "Imperial intelligence has surveyed this entire galactic arm. No advanced civilizations exist beyond our borders." A sound came through the communication channel. It took the Admiral a moment to recognize it as laughter. "Your intelligence is not as complete as you believe," Captain Chen replied. "We have been watching you for some time, Admiral, learning about your methods, your technology, your weaknesses." The words hit Kethvar like a physical blow. The Empire had weaknesses. Their technology was the most advanced in the galaxy. Their military had never been defeated. "You're bluffing," he said. "No species possesses technology superior to the Empire. Would you like a demonstration?" Before the Admiral could respond, the Retribution moved. The human ship accelerated at impossible speeds, covering thousands of kilometers in seconds. Imperial sensors couldn't track something moving that fast. The Terran vessel stopped directly, in front of the Dominion's fist. At this range, the flagship's weapons could not miss, but the humans had placed themselves in the most vulnerable position possible. "Admiral," Havek reported, "they're performing detailed scans of our ship. Their sensors are penetrating our shields as if they don't exist." "That's impossible. Imperial shielding technology is impenetrable." "Sir, they're accessing our computer systems." Kethvar felt panic rising. The Empire's military computers contained classified information about fleet movements, weapon specifications, and strategic plans. If an enemy gained access to that data, it could compromise operations across the galaxy, activate security protocols, shut down all external connections. "I'm trying, sir. But their intrusion software is bypassing every security measure. It's like our defenses aren't even there." The main view screen flickered and changed. Instead of showing the tactical display, it now showed Captain Chen sitting in what appeared to be the bridge of the human ship. She was smaller than Kethvar had expected. Humans appeared to be roughly the same size as most galactic species. Her skin was pale, her hair dark, and her eyes showed an intelligence that made the Admiral uncomfortable. "Hello, Admiral Kethvar," she said as if they were old friends. Thank you for giving us access to your ship's computers. Very helpful. How do you know my name? Your personnel files are quite detailed. Born on Zephyr Prime. Graduated top of your class from the Imperial Naval Academy. 43 years of service. 216 worlds conquered. Estimated. Civilian casualties under your command. 800 million. The precision of the information shocked Kethavar. Those records were classified at the highest levels. Only the Emperor himself should have access to such data. What do you want? He asked. Simple. Withdraw your fleet from this system. Allow the colonists to evacuate safely. End your campaign of genocide. And if I refuse? Captain Chen's expression grew cold. Then we will stop you ourselves. The Admiral laughed, though he felt no humor. You have one ship, we have 13. Our combined firepower could destroy entire fleets. Could it? The human asked. Let's find out. The view screen returned to tactical display. But now it showed something that made Kethavar's blood freeze. The Retribution was no longer alone. Ships were materializing throughout the system, dozens of them. Each one was as sleek and advanced as the first human vessel. They appeared from nowhere, their technology allowing them to bypass every Imperial sensor. How many ships do you have? The Admiral whispered. Enough, Captain Chen replied. Kethavar counted the vessels appearing on his sensors. 20, 30, 40. More kept materializing. Each one showed the same impossible energy readings as the Retribution. This is the Terran Commonwealth Third Fleet, Captain Chen announced. 57 vessels. We are here to ensure the safety of the colonists below and to demonstrate that your empire's expansion ends here. The Admiral's mind raced. 57 ships was a significant force, but the Imperial 7th Fleet had faced larger enemies before. Numbers alone would not guarantee victory. But these weren't ordinary ships. The technology gap was enormous. If every human vessel could destroy Imperial ships as easily as the Retribution had, then the 7th Fleet was already defeated. Admiral, Captain Morvex said quietly, recommend we contact Imperial Command for reinforcements. Do it. Send a priority message to Fleet Headquarters. Tell them we have encountered an unknown enemy with superior technology. Communications Officer Zelith worked at his station, then looked up with confusion. Sir, our long-range communications are being jammed. I can't establish contact with Imperial space. The humans had cut off their ability to call for help. The 7th Fleet was isolated, outnumbered, and outgunned. Captain Chen's voice returned. Admiral, you have one last chance to withdraw peacefully. Order your ships to leave this system. Allow the colonists to evacuate to safety. No one else needs to die today. Kethavar considered his options. Retreat would be humiliating. It would be the first time in Imperial history that a fleet had withdrawn in the face of enemy opposition. His career would be over. His reputation would be destroyed. But staying meant fighting an enemy he didn't understand with technology he couldn't counter. What guarantee do I have that you won't attack us if we withdraw? He asked. You have my word as a Terran Commonwealth officer. We are not here to conquer or destroy. We are here to protect innocent lives. The concept was alien to Kethavar. The Empire conquered to expand territory and resources. They destroyed enemies to prevent future threats. The idea of military intervention purely to protect strangers made no sense. Why do you care about these colonists? They are not your people. Because genocide is wrong, Admiral. Because every species has the right to exist. Because power should be used to protect, not destroy. Such thinking was weakness in Imperial doctrine. The strong ruled the weak. The advanced conquered the primitive. This was the natural order of the universe. But these humans had demonstrated strength beyond Imperial capabilities. Their technology was superior. Their tactics were sophisticated. Their coordination was flawless. If they were weak, what did that make the Empire? Sir, Havek reported. I'm detecting massive energy buildups from all human vessels. They're preparing to fire. Kethavar looked at the tactical display. 57 enemy ships surrounded his fleet, each one capable of destroying Imperial vessels with single shots. If they opened fire simultaneously, the 7th Fleet would be annihilated in seconds. Admiral, Captain Chen said, "I need your decision. Withdraw, or we will remove you ourselves." The moment stretched endlessly. 3,000 years of imperial supremacy balanced on Kethvar's choice. Retreat and admit weakness, or fight and face certain destruction. Pride warred with survival instinct. The Empire had never surrendered, never retreated, never shown weakness to any enemy. But the Empire had never faced humans before. "All ships," the Admiral said slowly, "prepare to withdraw from the system." Captain Morveck stared at him in shock. "Sir? You heard the order. Signal all vessels to fall back to minimum safe distance." The Imperial fleet began to move. Massive warships that had never known defeat slowly retreated from a smaller human force. It felt like the end of the world. "A wise choice, Admiral," Captain Chen said. "You may remain in the outer system until the evacuation is complete. Then you will leave and not return. And if Imperial Command sends a larger fleet, then we will deal with that larger fleet the same way we dealt with you." The humans spoke as if defeating Imperial forces was easy, as if the Empire's military might meant nothing to them. Kethvar watched his ships retreat and wondered what his report would say. How could he explain that humanity had appeared from nowhere and forced the Empire to surrender without a real fight? More importantly, what would happen when the Emperor learned that somewhere in the galaxy there was a species that was not afraid of Imperial power? The Admiral had a terrible feeling that this was only the beginning. Admiral Kethvar stood in his command chamber, staring out at the human fleet. 3 days had passed since the retreat, and the evacuation of Kepler 442b was nearly complete. Terran ships moved with precision, helping transport colonists to safety, while maintaining perfect defensive positions. The Admiral had used the time to study these mysterious humans. What he learned disturbed him more than their superior technology. Captain Chen had been true to her word. The humans made no move to attack the Imperial fleet as long as they remained at safe distance. They focused entirely on protecting the colonists, organizing evacuation efforts with efficiency that impressed even Imperial officers. But that wasn't what worried Kethvar. The humans were helping enemy civilians. Imperial doctrine taught that enemies deserved no mercy. Conquered populations were either enslaved or eliminated. The idea of protecting people who had opposed the Empire was completely foreign. Yet these Terrans worked tirelessly to save every colonist. Their ships provided medical aid, food, and transport to anyone who needed it. They treated wounded Imperial prisoners with the same care as their own people. Such behavior should have indicated weakness. Instead, it seemed to make them stronger. "Sir," Communications Officer Zelith called out, "We're receiving another transmission from the human flagship." "Put it through." Captain Chen appeared on the main screen. She looked tired, but determined. Behind her, Kethvar could see human officers, working at stations that seemed far more advanced than Imperial technology. "Admiral, the evacuation is complete. All colonists have been safely relocated to neutral systems. You are free to leave." "Just like that?" Kethvar asked. "You're letting us go?" "We told you we would. We keep our promises." The Admiral frowned. "What's to stop us from reporting your location to Imperial Command? From bringing a larger fleet to destroy you?" Captain Chen smiled sadly. "Nothing, Admiral. But it won't change anything. You think 13 ships can defeat the entire Imperial Navy? I think you still don't understand what you're dealing with. May I show you something?" The view screen changed to display a star map. Kethvar recognized the Outer Rim territories, including the system they currently occupied. But something was wrong with the display. Red markers appeared throughout Imperial space. Hundreds of them. Each one indicated the position of what appeared to be human ships. "This is impossible," the Admiral whispered. "This is just the 3rd, 7th, and 12th Commonwealth fleets," Captain Chen explained. "We have vessels positioned near every major Imperial installation. Military bases, shipyards, command centers, core worlds." Kethvar felt the blood drain from his face. The red markers covered half the Empire. If the display was accurate, humanity had somehow positioned forces throughout Imperial space, without being detected. How long have you been watching us? Approximately 8 years. We first learned about your empire when refugees from the Altair massacre reached our territory. Survivors told us about the systematic genocide of their people, the Altair massacre. Kethvar remembered it well. An entire star system cleansed of rebellious elements. 15 billion casualties. It had been one of the Empire's most efficient operations. From that moment, Chen continued, we knew we would have to act eventually. We spent years gathering intelligence, studying your technology, preparing for this intervention. Why reveal yourselves now? Why not remain hidden? Because we're not conquerors, Admiral. We don't want to rule your empire. We just want the killing to stop. Such naivety amazed Kethvar. Did these humans really believe they could change 3,000 years of Imperial doctrine through negotiation? The Empire will never stop expanding, he said. It's what we are. It's what we do. Then you'll have to do it without murdering innocent civilians. And you'll enforce this, how? By threatening us with your ships? Captain Chen's expression grew serious. If necessary, yes, but we'd prefer to offer you an alternative. What alternative? Join the galactic community as equals. Trade instead of conquering. Explore instead of destroying. Use your strength to protect rather than oppress. The Admiral almost laughed. Such concepts were completely alien to Imperial thinking. The Empire ruled through strength and fear. They took what they wanted and destroyed what they couldn't use. You don't understand, he said. The Empire is built on conquest. Without expansion, without new resources and slave populations, our civilization would collapse. Would it? Or have you simply never tried any other way? The question lingered in the air. Kethvar had never considered alternatives to Imperial doctrine. From childhood, every Zephyrian was taught that their species was destined to rule the galaxy, that other races were inferior and existed only to serve Imperial interests. But these humans challenged everything he believed. Show me more, he said finally. The star map changed, zooming in on specific systems. Kethvar watched in growing amazement as Captain Chen revealed the scope of human operations. Terran Commonwealth ships had been monitoring Imperial activities across hundreds of worlds. They had documented every massacre, every slave raid, every act of genocide. They knew about secret military projects, classified research facilities, and hidden weapons programs. Most disturbing of all, they had been helping Imperial enemies. The rebellion on Vega 7, Chen said, highlighting a system. We provided them with defensive technology. The uprising on Centauri Station. We supplied intelligence about Imperial troop movements. Kethvar stared at the display. Those rebellions had cost the Empire significant resources. Imperial intelligence had never discovered the source of rebel technology and information. Now he knew. You've been fighting us for years without us realizing it. We've been protecting innocent people from your Empire's aggression. There's a difference, not from our perspective. Captain Chen nodded. I understand. That's why we're offering you this choice now. End the expansion campaigns. Stop the genocide. Focus on improving your own worlds instead of conquering others. And if we refuse, then every time Imperial forces attack civilian populations, you'll find us waiting. The threat was clear. Humanity had the technology, the positioning, and the will to interfere with Imperial operations throughout the galaxy. They had already proven they could defeat Imperial fleets. But Kethvar knew his people. The Empire would never accept such restrictions voluntarily. You're asking us to abandon everything we are, he said. We're asking you to become something better. Emperor Valdris will never agree to this. He'll see it as weakness, as surrender. Then perhaps it's time for new leadership. The suggestion was treasonous by Imperial standards. Challenging the Emperor's authority was punishable by death. The very idea of regime change was unthinkable. Yet these humans spoke of it casually, as if overthrowing governments was routine. You don't understand Imperial society, Kethvar said. The Emperor's power is absolute. His bloodline has ruled for 3 millennia. No one questions his authority. Someone will, Chen replied confidently. When your people learn there's an alternative to endless war, some will choose peace. And you think you can protect those who make such choices? We know we can. The certainty in her voice was unsettling. These humans spoke as if they had already planned for every contingency, as if they had studied imperial society so thoroughly that they could predict its responses. Admiral, Captain Morvex interrupted from behind him, we're receiving priority, communications from Imperial Command. Kethavar turned. I thought the humans were jamming our signals. They've opened a communication window, Zeleth reported. Apparently they want us to report to our superiors. The Admiral looked back at Captain Chen. You're allowing us to contact Imperial Command? Of course. Your Emperor needs to understand the new situation. The sooner he learns about us, the sooner he can make intelligent decisions. Such confidence was either admirable or insane. These humans were deliberately revealing themselves to the most powerful military force in the galaxy. They were essentially declaring war on the Empire, while outnumbered by thousands to one, unless they weren't actually outnumbered. How many ships do you really have? Kethavar asked. Enough, Chen replied, using the same word as before. That's not an answer. It's the only answer you need. What matters is that we're here, we're committed to stopping imperial genocide, and we have the technology to back up our words. The communication alert chimed again. Imperial Command was demanding an immediate report. Take the call, Admiral, Captain Chen said. Tell your superiors what happened here. Explain that humanity is offering the Empire a choice between coexistence and conflict. And if they choose conflict? Then we'll give them conflict, but we'll do everything possible to protect innocent lives in the process. Kethavar studied the human captain's face. She showed no fear, no uncertainty. These people truly believed they could challenge the Empire and win. Perhaps they were right. Open the channel, he ordered. Emperor Valdris the Eternal appeared, on screen. He was ancient, even by Zephyrian standards. His scaled skin was pale with age, but his eyes still burned with the authority of absolute power. Admiral Kethavar, the Emperor said, his voice carrying the weight of centuries. Explain your delay in completing the Kepler operation. The Admiral took a deep breath. Your Majesty, we have encountered an unknown enemy, a species called humans from a world called Earth. Unknown enemy? Impossible. Our intelligence networks cover the entire galaxy. Nevertheless, Majesty, they exist, and they have superior technology. The Emperor's expression grew dangerous. Are you telling me that the 7th Fleet has been defeated by unknown aliens? We were persuaded to withdraw, Majesty. They demanded we stop the bombardment and allow civilian evacuation. And you complied with enemy demands? The words hung in the air like a death sentence. No Imperial officer had ever admitted to following enemy orders. Yes, Majesty. Their technological superiority left us no choice. Emperor Valdris was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried the promise of terrible retribution. Return to Imperial space immediately. You will face a full military tribunal for your failure. Yes, Majesty. And Admiral, prepare a full report on these humans. If they truly pose a threat to the Empire, they will be eliminated completely. The transmission ended. Kethavar turned back to Captain Chen, who had been listening to the entire conversation. You heard him, the Admiral said. The Empire will send everything they have to destroy you. We're counting on it, she replied calmly. That makes no sense. Why would you want to face the full Imperial Navy? Captain Chen smiled, and for the first time, Kethavar saw something almost predatory in her expression. Because when we defeat your entire military, no one in the galaxy will doubt that the age of Imperial genocide is over. The Admiral felt a chill run down his spine. These humans weren't just defending colonists. They were planning to end the Empire itself, and they seemed confident they could do it. Emperor Valdris the Eternal sat on his throne of crystallized bone, reading Admiral Kethavar's full report for the 3rd time. The massive chamber around him was carved from a single asteroid, its walls decorated with trophies from 1,000 conquered worlds. The report made no sense. An unknown species had appeared from nowhere and forced an Imperial fleet to retreat. They possessed technology beyond anything in the Empire's vast databases. They claimed to come from a world called Earth, which didn't exist on any star chart. Most disturbing of all, they had issued demands to the Empire itself. Summon Grand Admiral Thexmore, the Emperor commanded. His personal guards, towering figures in black armor, moved to obey. Within minutes, the Empire's highest military officer stood before the throne. Grand Admiral Thexmore was old, experienced, and had never lost a battle. His forearms bore the scars of countless campaigns. His eyes held the cold wisdom of someone who had personally overseen the destruction of entire species. "Your Majesty," Thexmore said, bowing precisely. "Read this." Valdris handed him the report. "Tell me what you think." The Grand Admiral studied the document carefully. His expression grew increasingly troubled as he read about human technology and their impossible demands. "If this report is accurate," Thexmore said finally, "we face a threat unlike any in Imperial history." "Do you believe it's accurate?" "Admiral, Cathvar is no coward. He's commanded successful campaigns for 4 decades. If he says these humans possess superior technology, I'm inclined to believe him." Emperor Valdris rose from his throne and walked to the massive window overlooking his capital city. Below, billions of Zephyrians went about their daily lives, secure in the knowledge that their empire was supreme. "How is this possible?" the Emperor asked. "Our scouts have surveyed the entire galactic arm. No advanced civilizations exist beyond our borders. Perhaps they come from beyond our surveyed regions, or perhaps their stealth technology is so advanced that our scouts never detected them." The thought was disturbing. If humans could hide from Imperial sensors, what else might be lurking in unexplored space? "What do you recommend?" Valdris asked. "We must respond with overwhelming force. Assemble the 1st, 2nd, and 5th fleets, over 300 ships. Whatever technology these humans possess, they cannot stand against the combined might of our greatest fleets." The Emperor nodded. "Do it. And Thexmore. I want these humans completely destroyed, not conquered, not enslaved. Eliminated entirely." "It will be done, Majesty." 3 weeks later, the largest Imperial fleet in centuries assembled at the staging point of Rigel Station. 317 warships, including 12 dreadnoughts and the Emperor's personal flagship, the Eternal Dominion. Grand Admiral Thexmore stood on the bridge of his command ship, reviewing final preparations. Intelligence reports indicated the humans were still in the Kepler 442 system, apparently making no effort to hide or retreat. Such confidence was either supreme arrogance or supreme power. "All fleets report ready," his aide announced. "Begin hyperspace jump," Thexmore ordered. The massive fleet entered hyperspace in perfect formation. The journey to Kepler 442 would take 6 hours. When they arrived, these mysterious humans would face the full wrath of the Empire. In the Kepler system, Captain Chen stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching her tactical displays. Commonwealth sensors had been tracking Imperial fleet movements for weeks. The response was exactly what they had predicted. Admiral Torres reports the task force is in position, her communications officer announced. "Excellent. Signal all ships to maintain stealth until the Imperials arrive. We want them fully committed before we reveal our strength." "Yes, Captain." Chen studied the tactical display showing the positions of Terran Commonwealth vessels throughout the system. The Imperials would be expecting to find a small force of 50 or 60 ships. They would instead face something far different. "Captain," her tactical officer said, "hyperspace distortions detected. Multiple large vessels incoming." "Here we go. All stations prepare for combat operations." The Imperial fleet materialized at the edge of the Kepler system in a display of force that would have terrified any normal enemy. 300 massive warships arranged in perfect attack formation, their combined firepower capable of sterilizing entire worlds. Grand Admiral Thexmore studied his sensor readings with satisfaction. The human fleet was exactly where intelligence reports indicated. Approximately 60 vessels clustered around the colony world. "Signal all ships," he commanded. "Attack formation Gamma. Target every human vessel. I want complete destruction." In the first salvo, the Imperial fleet moved forward like an unstoppable wave. Every ship charged weapons to maximum power. Missile tubes loaded with planet-killer warheads. Particle cannons prepared to unleash destruction beyond comprehension. On the Retribution, Captain Chen watched the Imperial approach with calm professionalism. "They're not even attempting to communicate," her tactical officer observed. "No. They've come here to commit genocide. Let's show them the price of that choice." She opened a fleet-wide channel. "All Commonwealth vessels, this is Chen. Execute Plan Hammer. Show them what humanity can do." Throughout the Kepler system, space began to shimmer. Grand Admiral Thexmore watched his sensors in growing confusion as energy readings spiked beyond all known scales. Space itself seemed to be rippling around the Imperial fleet. "Report," he demanded. "Sir, massive energy buildups throughout the system. Unknown sources. The readings are impossible." "Define impossible." "Energy levels that exceed our measurement capabilities, and they're coming from everywhere." The first Commonwealth ship decloaked directly in front of the Imperial flagship. It was massive, larger than any human vessel they had previously encountered. Its weapons were already charging. Then another ship appeared, and another. Within seconds, space around the Imperial fleet was filled with Terran Commonwealth vessels, not dozens. Hundreds. "How many ships are there?" Thexmore whispered. "Counting." "Sir, over 400 vessels. And more are still decloaking." Thupal, Grand Admiral stared at his tactical display in disbelief. The humans hadn't just matched Imperial numbers, they had exceeded them. Significantly, "This is impossible. Intelligence said they had 60 ships." "Sir, it appears intelligence was wrong." A communication signal reached the Imperial flagship. Grand Admiral Thexmore accepted it, wondering what these humans would say. A new face appeared on screen. This human was older than Captain Chen, with gray hair and the bearing of supreme military authority. "Imperial forces, this is Admiral Rosa Torres commanding the Terran Commonwealth First Fleet. You have entered this system with obvious hostile intent. You will immediately stand down and prepare to be boarded." Boarded? Thexmore couldn't believe what he was hearing. "You dare to demand our surrender?" "I demand nothing. I'm offering you the chance to survive this encounter. Your choice." The Grand Admiral studied his tactical situation. The Imperial fleet was surrounded, outnumbered, and facing technology they didn't understand. But the Empire had never surrendered. Never. "All ships," he commanded. "Open fire. Destroy every human vessel." The Imperial fleet unleashed everything they had. Thousands of missiles, energy beams, and particle streams converged on the Commonwealth ships. The human vessels absorbed the barrage without visible effect. "Impossible," Thexmore breathed. Admiral Torres's voice returned, colder now. "Your turn is over. Now it's ours." The Commonwealth fleet fired simultaneously. What followed wasn't a battle. It was a demonstration. Imperial ships simply ceased to exist. The humans' weapons were so advanced that most Imperial vessels never even registered being hit. They were there one moment, gone the next. In less than 10 minutes, over half the Imperial fleet was destroyed. "All ships, retreat!" Grand Admiral Thexmore ordered desperately. "Sir, our hyperspace drives are being jammed. We can't jump." The humans weren't just destroying Imperial ships. They were controlling the battlefield completely. The most powerful fleet in Imperial history was trapped like animals in a cage. "Admiral Torres," Thexmore called out on the communication channel. "We surrender. Please stop the attack." The Commonwealth ships ceased firing immediately. "A wise choice," Torres replied. "All Imperial vessels will power down weapons and prepare to be boarded. Any ship that fails to comply will be destroyed." Thexmore looked around his bridge. His crew stared at him in shock. An Imperial Grand Admiral had just surrendered to enemy forces. It was unprecedented in 3,000 years of history. But the alternative was complete annihilation. All ships comply with enemy demands, he ordered quietly. The boarding process was swift and professional. Commonwealth troops moved through Imperial ships with practiced efficiency, securing weapons and taking key personnel into custody. Grandy. Admiral Thexmore found himself face-to-face with Admiral Torres in the Retribution's conference room. The human commander was smaller than most Zephyrians, but her presence filled the space. "Your empire has a choice," Torres said without preamble. "End the expansion campaigns. Stop the genocide of civilian populations. Focus on internal development instead of conquest. And if we refuse, then we will end your expansion for you." Thexmore studied the human admiral. Like Captain Chen, she showed no doubt, no uncertainty. These people truly believed they could dictate terms to the Empire. "How many ships do you really have?" he asked. "Enough to protect every civilian population in Imperial space. Enough to stop every genocide campaign. Enough to defeat any fleet you send against us. The Emperor will never accept this. Then the Emperor will learn that his reign of terror is over." The words hit Thexmore like a physical blow. These humans weren't just challenging Imperial military doctrine. They were threatening the foundation of Imperial civilization itself. "You're talking about war on a galactic scale," he said. "We're talking about ending war on a galactic scale. No more conquest, no more slavery, no more genocide. The choice is yours." Admiral Torres stood and walked to the viewport. Outside, the remains of the Imperial fleet hung in space like broken toys. "We will be releasing your surviving crews," she said. "They can return to Imperial space with a message. The Terran Commonwealth is offering the Empire one final chance to change, to become something better than a force of destruction. And if we choose to fight?" Torres turned back to face him. "Then we will fight. And we will win. Because we have something your Empire lacks. Superior technology? Something more important. We know what we're fighting for." Grand Admiral Thexmore was silent for a long moment. In 3 decades of military service, he had conquered dozens of worlds and destroyed countless enemies. He had never questioned Imperial doctrine or Imperial goals, but these humans forced him to think about things he had never considered. What was the Empire really fighting for? What was the point of endless conquest and destruction? "The Emperor will send every ship in the Imperial Navy against you," he said finally. "We're counting on it," Torres replied with a slight smile. The same confidence, the same certainty. These humans seemed to welcome the prospect of facing the entire Imperial military, as if they had been planning for exactly that outcome all along. Thexmore realized with growing dread that humanity had set a trap. They had revealed themselves, demonstrated their power, and now they were deliberately provoking the Empire into a massive response. But why would they want to face the full Imperial Navy? Unless they were absolutely certain they would win. Emperor Valdris the Eternal stood in his war room, staring at the holographic display showing the complete destruction of his greatest fleets. The reports were beyond belief. Over 300 Imperial warships destroyed or captured by unknown human forces. Grand Admiral Thexmore's surviving ships had limped back to Imperial space with news that shattered everything. Valdris thought he knew about the galaxy. "How many human ships did they report?" the Emperor asked his intelligence chief. "Over 400 confirmed, Majesty. But Admiral Torres suggested they have many more. 400 ships with technology superior to anything the Empire possessed. The implications were staggering. What about our client species? Are any of them showing signs of rebellion?" The intelligence chief's expression grew troubled. "Several systems have stopped responding to Imperial commands, Majesty. The Altarians, the Vegan colonies, the Centauri Federation. They seem to be waiting to see what happens next." The Empire's client species were already sensing weakness. 3,000 years of fear-based control was cracking after a single human victory. And our own population? "There are rumors, Majesty. Stories about aliens who protect civilians instead of conquering them. Some citizens are asking why the Empire doesn't follow similar policies." Valdris felt rage building in his chest. His own people were beginning to question Imperial doctrine, The humans had planted seeds of doubt that could grow into full rebellion. "Summon the High Council," he commanded. "We will discuss our response to this human threat." The High Council consisted of the Empire's most senior military and political leaders. They gathered in the ancient chamber where decisions affecting billions of lives were made. "Honored counselors," Emperor Valdris began, "we face an unprecedented crisis. An unknown species has challenged imperial authority and demonstrated the ability to defeat our finest fleets." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Several counselors looked genuinely frightened. "What are our options, Majesty?" asked Admiral Vextar, commander of the Imperial Navy's remaining forces. "We have one option," the Emperor replied coldly. "Complete mobilization. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier. We will assemble the largest military force in galactic history and crush these humans completely." "Majesty," interjected Counselor Ralvin, "perhaps we should consider negotiation. The humans have offered terms." "Negotiation is surrender," Valdris snapped. "The Empire does not negotiate with inferior species." "But are they inferior?" Ralvin asked quietly. "Their technology appears far more advanced than ours." The question hung in the air like heresy. The foundation of imperial ideology was Zephyrian superiority. If humans were technologically superior, what did that mean for imperial civilization? "Irrelevant," the Emperor said. "We will overcome their technology through superior numbers and tactics." "Majesty," Admiral Vextar said carefully, "our total remaining fleet strength is approximately 800 vessels. If the humans truly have 400 ships with their demonstrated capabilities, the outcome of such a battle would be uncertain." "Then we use other weapons," Valdris declared. "Activate the Void Hammer project." Silence fell over the chamber. The Void Hammer was the Empire's most classified weapon system, a planet killer so powerful it could destroy entire star systems. "Majesty," Counselor Ralvin protested, "the Void Hammer is untested. The energy requirements are enormous, and using it would violate every treaty in the galaxy." "Treaties signed with species we conquered," the Emperor replied. "If we destroy the humans' home world, their fleet will have no base of operations. They will be forced to surrender or face extinction." The plan was simple and brutal. Locate Earth, deploy the Void Hammer, and eliminate humanity entirely. Without their homeworld, the human fleet would become refugees with no place to retreat. "Begin immediate preparations," Valdris ordered. "I want the Void Hammer ready for deployment within 60 days. The High Council dispersed to carry out the Emperor's commands, but several counselors exchanged worried glances as they left. The Emperor's plan could destroy humanity, but it could also trigger a galactic war that would consume billions of lives. In the Kepler system, Admiral Torres received reports about Imperial military movements throughout their territory. Commonwealth intelligence networks had infiltrated most major Imperial installations years ago. "They're mobilizing everything," Captain Chen reported. "Every available ship is being recalled to core Imperial space." "Expected," Torres replied. "What about the Void Hammer?" "Our sources confirm they're activating the project. Estimated completion in 6 weeks." Torres nodded grimly. The Void Hammer was exactly the type of weapon they had expected the Empire to deploy when faced with extinction. A planet killer designed to destroy entire worlds. "Signal Earth Command," she ordered. "Tell them to begin Phase 3. "Yes, Admiral." Phase 3 was the Commonwealth's final strategy. They had spent years preparing for exactly this scenario. The Empire would attempt to destroy Earth, and humanity would show them the true scope of their mistake. On Earth, President Sarah Martinez received Admiral Torres's message in the underground command center beneath Geneva. Around her, the planet's greatest military and scientific minds worked to coordinate humanity's response to the Imperial threat. "How long until the Imperial fleet reaches Earth?" she asked. "Approximately 4 weeks," replied General Harrison, Earth's military commander. "Their fleet is massive, over 800 ships plus the Void Hammer. Are our defenses ready?" "More than ready, Madam President. The Sol defense grid is fully operational. Every Commonwealth fleet is in position. When the Imperials arrive, they'll find more than they bargained for. Earth's transformation over the past 8 years had been remarkable. The entire solar system had become a fortress designed to protect humanity's home world. Orbital stations, automated defense platforms, and hidden weapons systems filled every strategic position. But the real surprise was hidden in deep space, beyond Imperial sensor range. The Imperial fleet assembled at Proxima Station, the closest major installation to human territory. Emperor Valdris himself commanded from the bridge of the Voidhammer, a massive vessel larger than most space stations. "Status report," he demanded. "All fleets report ready, Majesty," Admiral Vexitar replied. 843 ships, the largest force in Imperial history. The Emperor studied the tactical display showing his massive fleet. Such firepower could conquer entire galactic arms. No species had ever faced such concentrated military might. "Begin hyperspace jump to Earth," he commanded. The Imperial Armada entered hyperspace in perfect formation. When they emerged in the Sol system, humanity would face complete annihilation. The journey took 6 hours. When the Imperial fleet materialized at the edge of Earth's solar system, Emperor Valdris expected to find a primitive world defended by scattered ships. Instead, he found something that defied comprehension. The entire solar system blazed with energy signatures. Massive orbital platforms surrounded Earth like a protective shell. Weapons stations the size of asteroids guarded every approach route. Defensive fields flickered with power that exceeded Imperial measurement capabilities. "Report," the Emperor demanded, his voice tight with control. "Majesty," the sensor officer replied shakily. "I count over 2,000 defensive installations. Power readings are..." "Impossible." 2,000 installations. The humans had turned their entire solar system into the most heavily defended location in galactic history. And their fleet? No ships detected within the inner system, Majesty. That was strange. Where were the human vessels that had defeated Imperial forces? Emperor Valdris studied the tactical display. Despite the impressive defenses, he still commanded the largest military force ever assembled. Numbers had to count for something. "All ships attack formation," he ordered. "Target the orbital platforms first. Clear a path to the planet." The Imperial fleet moved forward like an unstoppable tide. 800 warships advanced on Earth's defenses, weapons charging to maximum power. The orbital platforms opened fire first. What emerged from Earth's defenses wasn't energy beams or missiles. It was pure destruction. Weapons that manipulated matter at the quantum level, turning Imperial ships into rapidly expanding clouds of particles. "Impossible," the Emperor whispered. His fleet was being destroyed faster than sensors could track. Ships that had never known defeat simply ceased to exist. The humans' defensive technology was beyond anything in Imperial databases. "All ships evasive maneuvers," Admiral Vextar ordered desperately. "Negative," Emperor Valdris countermanded. "Continue the attack. Deploy the Voidhammer." The massive planet killer moved toward Earth, its ultimate weapon charging. If they could destroy the human home world, the defensive platforms would become irrelevant. But as the Voidhammer approached firing range, space around the Imperial fleet began to shimmer. "Majesty," the sensor officer reported in a voice filled with terror. "Massive hyperspace signatures. Multiple fleets incoming." Human ships began materializing throughout the solar system. Not hundreds this time. Thousands. Fleet after fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect coordination. The Commonwealth's true strength was finally revealed. Over 3,000 vessels, each one more advanced than the Empire's finest ships. "This is Admiral Torres," a familiar voice announced on all frequencies. "Imperial forces, you are surrounded and outgunned. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded." Emperor Valdris stared at the tactical display in disbelief. 3,000 human ships. Their technology was superior. Their coordination was flawless. His invincible fleet was trapped in the most heavily defended system in the galaxy. "Sir," Admiral Vextar said quietly, "recommend immediate retreat." "There is no retreat," Valdris replied coldly. We fight until victory or death. Majesty, we cannot win this battle. Then we will make them pay for their victory. Fire the void. Hammer. The planet killer's ultimate weapon charged to full power. If Emperor Valdris could not conquer Earth, he would destroy it completely. But as the void hammer prepared to fire, something impossible happened. The massive weapon simply stopped working. Every system shut down simultaneously. "What's happening?" the Emperor demanded. "Sir, external interference. Something is overriding our computer systems." A new voice filled the bridge, young, confident, and speaking with an accent Valdris had never heard. "Emperor Valdris, this is Dr. Sarah Kim, Earth's Chief Technology Officer. I've taken control of your weapon systems. Your ship is now under our command." Computer override. The humans had somehow seized control of Imperial technology remotely. Such capability was beyond anything the Empire had imagined possible. "Impossible," the Emperor whispered. "The Commonwealth has been studying your technology for 8 years, Dr. Kim explained. Every system, every weapon, every defense, we know how it all works. More importantly, we know how to turn it off." Throughout the Imperial fleet, ships began shutting down. Weapons powered down, shields collapsed. Life support remained active, but every military system was now controlled by human operators. "How?" Valdris asked. Admiral Torres's voice returned. "Because we're not conquerors, Emperor. We're protectors. And we've been preparing for this day since we first learned about your Empire's crimes." The human fleet moved into boarding positions. Thousands of vessels surrounding the helpless Imperial Armada like predators claiming their prey. "You have a choice," Torres continued. "Surrender now and face trial for your crimes, or resist and be destroyed completely." Emperor Valdris looked around his bridge. His crew stared at him with expressions mixing fear and disbelief. The Empire's ultimate weapon was useless. Their fleet was trapped. Their technology had been completely compromised. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Empire faced an enemy they could not defeat. "I surrender," he said quietly. The words felt like poison in his mouth. No emperor had ever surrendered. No imperial force had ever admitted defeat. But the alternative was annihilation. Over the following months, the galaxy transformed completely. The Empire's client species declared independence. Imperial governors were arrested by Commonwealth forces. The vast military machine that had terrorized the galaxy for 3 millennia simply collapsed. Emperor Valdris faced trial for genocide at a special tribunal on Earth. His crimes were documented in detail. Billions of civilian deaths, countless destroyed civilizations, systematic slavery and oppression. The verdict was inevitable. But the Commonwealth's punishment was unexpected. Instead of execution, Valdris and other imperial leaders were sentenced to community service. They would spend the rest of their lives helping rebuild the worlds they had destroyed. Captain Chen, now promoted to admiral, stood in the Commonwealth's new headquarters overlooking Earth's Pacific Ocean. Through the massive windows, she could see ships from dozens of species arriving and departing. Former imperial worlds were now free members of the Galactic Federation. "Any regrets?" Admiral Torres asked, joining her at the window. "About ending 3,000 years of oppression?" "No," Chen replied. "About the lives lost in the process?" "Yes." The human victory had not been bloodless. Thousands of Commonwealth personnel had died liberating imperial worlds. The price of freedom was always high. "What's next?" Torres asked. "Exploration," Chen said with a smile. "The galaxy is full of species we've never met, worlds we've never seen. Now that the Empire's expansion has ended, we can focus on discovery instead of destruction. And if we encounter hostile species, then we'll do what we always do. Protect the innocent, defend the helpless, show them that there's a better way." Admiral Chen turned back to the window. In the distance, a Commonwealth exploration ship was departing for the galactic rim. Its mission was peaceful contact with unknown civilizations. The age of empires was over. The age of exploration had begun. Somewhere among the stars, Other species would learn what humanity had taught the galaxy, that strength should be used to protect, not conquer. That technology should serve life, not destroy it. And that sometimes the galaxy's worst nightmare could become its greatest hope. Earth's warships continued their patrols, but now they carried a different message. Not the threat of conquest, but the promise of protection. The stars were safe and humanity stood watch.